The White House plans a big rollout today for a long-awaited plan to rebuild U.S. infrastructure, but it may be overshadowed by the cloud over two presidential aides, Rob Porter and David Sorensen, who left the White House over allegations they abused their wives.
President Trump's top aides defended the response to the charges yesterday, but mixed messages from the president and the timeline leading to Rob Porter's resignation are raising new questions. Those questions focus on how the White House chief of staff and top lawyer handled the allegations many months ago when they became aware of them, and whether the chief of staff was truthful in explaining how he handled the situation. Major Garrett is at the White House. Major, good morning.
Good morning. President Trump has been publicly supportive of his former top aide, Rob Porter, even though we are told in private he has recently referred to Porter as, quote, a sick puppy. And there's now a concerted White House effort to shield Chief of Staff John Kelly from the fallout by portraying Porter as someone who deceived Kelly and others.
John Kelly's doing an outstanding job.
White House officials threw their support behind Chief of Staff John Kelly Sunday, hoping to counter reports the president was considering replacing him.
He has full confidence in his current Chief of Staff, General John Kelly.
Budget Director Mick Mulvaney answered charges the White House failed to take domestic abuse allegations seriously.
I don't think we have a lax attitude. I think what you saw happen this week, Major, was completely reasonable and normal.
But the White House put out statements of support for Porter several hours after the photos of abuse surfaced. And Kelly was told by White House counsel Don McGahn in November that Rob Porter's security clearance was held up because of allegations from two ex-wives. McGahn learned of the charges from both the FBI and an ex-girlfriend who also alleged abuse. Friday night, a White House speechwriter, David Sorensen, resigned after a news report detailed abuses alleged by his ex-wife. Sorensen told CBS News he was the one who was abused. In a tweet on Saturday, President Trump seemed to side with the accused. People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Writing in Time magazine, Porter's second wife, Jenny Willoughby, said the president's words were, quote, meant to imply that I am a liar, that abuse is something to be questioned and doubted.
We certainly wish him well.
Mr. Trump's defense of Porter in the Oval Office last week brought this retort from former Vice President Joe Biden.
That's like saying that axe murderer out there, he's a great painter.
Porter had an interim security clearance, but President Trump enlarged his responsibilities and gave him more power even after concerns were raised in the process of working through his background check. Now, more than a dozen White House employees currently operate under that interim security clearance cover, and one of them is the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. John?
Major, thanks. The White House obviously would like to be talking about something else. This week, the president unveils an infrastructure plan. What do we know about that?
Price tag, $1.5 trillion. And after tax cuts and a big spending deal, that might create some sticker shock on Capitol Hill. But the White House says, don't worry, Congress, only $200 billion will come from Washington. The rest will come from state and local governments and the private sector. Democrats say, wait a minute, the federal government's got to spend much more than that. The White House counters, we have underinvested in infrastructure, and by accelerating the permitting process, we will attract private investment. All of that is to be teased out in the process of negotiations with Congress. Wednesday here at the White House, there'll be a meeting to kick all of that off. John?
All right, Major, thanks so much.